Have you ever heard someone in corporate America give you the advice, just do what everybody else is doing and you'll fit right in? What does that really mean? Is it good advice? Well, that really depends on the situation, but in many cases, that advice is given without deeper meaning or a broader understanding of the corporate environment. It may well be bad advice, or at least premature advice. In the best corporate cultures, an environment exists that allows each team member to bring their full self for the good of the team. That means that they can express themselves in a way that capitalizes on their unique qualities and qualifications. This doesn't mean, however, that an individual is unconstrained in their behavior or manner of communication. Every successful culture has a set of norms and behaviors that it expects its contributors to embrace. As leaders, we often expect people to recognize the positive attributes of a culture and then channel their efforts and engagement to support that culture. The problem in many organizations is that the culture means different things to different people. Try and describe the current culture within your organization or department. What you'll find is that you have to look around. What's going on around the organization? What types of behaviors do you see? Which of these behaviors are considered good and which are considered undesirable? What norms are being exhibited? Once you've done that, the next big thing that a leader needs to ask is about what they've observed is how much of the team will be able to recognize the same conditions when they examine the culture. Herein lies the problem. If every person in the culture is running around identifying different elements and focusing on different components as the most important elements of the culture, how can it be reasonable to ask anyone to adapt and embrace elements that aren't even commonly recognized? The reason so many corporate cultures are disjointed is they're quite often a culture that exists by default rather than by design. And the reason that they often are a culture by default is that they can be quite overwhelming when trying to consider all of the possible characteristics and components that would make up an ideal culture. While it's far too complex and far too comprehensive to cover everything that makes up a great corporate culture in this brief video, we can take a look at the 5 essential elements that are present in all great corporate cultures and give you a place to start with the evaluation and analysis of your own corporate culture. Every truly great corporate culture that I've ever observed has 5 key elements in common. First, the culture realizes that various team members are motivated in different ways and they proactively seek to gain information and profound motivational insights into each team member. Great corporate cultures have an environment of extraordinary trust. They have a well-defined means of exceptional communication. They practice relentless risk assessment to empower and protect the organization. And then lastly, they're capable of impeccable execution. So now that you know that, go back and ask yourself the same questions of observation about what's going on in and around your organization. What are the types of behaviors that you see and what are the norms that are being exhibited? Ask those questions through a lens of greater insight into what's motivating your employees, what's promoting higher levels of trust, and then work on clearer and more efficient communications while redoubling your efforts to embrace smart risks and mitigate extreme risks. Then empower your team to achieve impeccable execution. Once you have the answers to some of those questions, then and only then does it make sense to tell a new team member to engage in whatever else it is that's going on in the organization.